Louisville Ford workers are split on a contract deal with the automaker. Around 1 o'clock this morning, United Auto Workers 862 posted this update on Facebook. It shows production workers voted against the deal, while skilled trade workers voted in favor of it.
We are going to head straight over to Jim Stratman at the UAW 862 Union Hall this morning to break down, Jim, what this means as we do continue to move forward here with this Ford story.
Well, Grace, I think it's important to remind everybody that this is not the end of the story. In fact, this is just a part of what is to come. We know that we have to wait for the rest of the Ford auto workers across the country to vote before we know whether or not the union will ratify or reject the new 4.5-year contract that is on the table from Ford for the auto workers. But this was an unexpected kind of strike to this new contract, something that union leadership has been calling a historic deal that they reached with Ford and with some of these other auto workers. But here in Louisville, we saw that at least part of the Ford workers here did not think that contract went far enough. Now, Louisville's Ford workers make up approximately 21% of all Ford UAW voting members. So that is a pretty big chunk right there. But again, it is not the entirety of those Ford workers. Now, we do have to wait to see what the rest of that voting population thinks about this contract before we know what will happen next. Local 862 leader Todd Dunn told us yesterday that when it comes to these kinds of deals, leadership can think one thing, but it all really comes down to what those workers feel.
It's historic, it's epic, it's never been done before. But you have to remember, there are members that's relative to them. Not everything that, is in the agreement is something that they wanted or needed, or vice versa. So it's really all relative to the individual, but overall consumption of the agreement, it's historical.
Now, the local 862 votes should be fully tallied and released sometime today, but again, UAW will have to wait until all Ford workers have voted before they officially announce their decision. And then we have two kind of differing paths here that we could take. If the union ratifies this contract, details will then be ironed out about when back pay will start, when these benefits will kick in, and kind of get those fine details set to be put into place and put into action. But if the union were to reject this contract, then it's back to the negotiating table. Negotiators for the UAW, along with negotiators for Ford, will have to come back together and try to figure out a new type of agreement that will appease all of the union members. Eric, Grace?
That is fantastic clarity. Thank you so much for that, Jim. Now, some of the highlights of the tentative agreement include a 25% general wage increase over the contract's 4 years. At ratification, Ford workers would receive an immediate 11% wage increase, and the progression from entry rate to top wage rate has been cut down from 8 years to 3. You can read those full details and more on the tentative contract in the story at WHAS11.com.
And